Shalom and good day all, this is Healing29 back again for some indie comic reviews, and in these indie comic reviews I'll be covering King Spawn issue 42 and Street Fighter Prime issue 1. I'll now get things ready and organised for the first one that I'll be reviewing. So starting off with first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Sure enough it does, to which we do have an encounter with Spawn trying to work on the recovery of someone who has been taken hostage. Even though you don't get to see him being armed with a gun, it's sort of implied that he does use some enforcement of sorts to take on the villain who has taken the hostage. To which I give the cover a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the area of the internal art and also what is happening story-wise with the characters as we move into the beginning, middle, and of course the end. So as the story begins, we learn that what we see here has taken place 4 days ago within the story, and of course there's a bit of a report on it, and also someone who is trying to, I guess, tie up some loose ends and also work out where certain people are. As the story advances further, we finally do catch up with Spawn himself as he works to further locating the person who is the hostage in the story. And with this, we end up going to the Terry Fitzgerald home as there's also quite a bit happening there too. And last but not least, the recovery of the hostage. But whilst this is occurring, we also learn that there is a new villain in town that looks like they might have Spawn on their little wish list to kill. So for the internal art, I give it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the area of the story. So considering how far we are issue-wise, did we actually get any comic book references? You won't believe it. They actually put it in here. So with that, with them putting in these references, it also goes towards the story rating. So the first is Spawn issue 360 and also King Spawn issue 32. So it's nice to see that we've got a bit of a comeback and references to important issues that are connected to what's happening in this storyline. Next is the area of time, to which we have 4 days ago and later. Next is the location, to which we learn that Spawn ends up going. We end up seeing the appearance of the Terry Fitzgerald home. The cast of characters consisting of Spawn. We have William Lynch, we have Rafe, Revenant, and also Kubri, I think it is. For the overall story rating, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. The writer on this really surprised me because I did not expect to see this story go from what it's been in the lows to start to jump a little bit higher in my ratings. So it's nice to see, I guess, a bit of fresh blood or at least a fresh writer working on the series and getting a new story that feels that it's actually got some relevance as to what is happening in the Spawn universe. And just a reminder for that, I gave the story a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move on to Street Fighter Prime issue 1. Now as we move into Street Fighter Prime issue 1, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give it a 7.5 out of 10. If you happen to be someone who would like to see me cover the whole issue, well, or these whole issues of the Street Fighter related stuff, maybe one thing that you might want to do is help me get my watch hours so that this channel is monetized. Help me get the subscribers so this channel is monetized. Because it ain't gonna happen right now. Until then, let's move directly into the story as we have a look at the internal art around the beginning, middle, and of course the end, and also what is happening story-wise with the characters. So as the story begins, we get a little bit of footage, or a little bit of what's happening in Asia, as well as what's happening in Tokyo, Japan. And whilst we are here, we end up meeting Miss Yuzuki and also Chun-Li, who seems to be Kazuki's escort, as well as protector. As we start to jump a little bit further around the beginning, we catch up with Ken Masters, who is taking on Guile, and we see that due to the aftermath of the events of, say, the last street fight, Ken has had to go into hiding, and as he's encountered Guile, Guile has brought up to him about his family, including his son Mel, how in technicality they'd be worried the hell out of as to what's happening with him or where he is, and that he needs to put an effort to fight against what is actually happening instead of cowering away. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing the return of Ryu, because we do see Ryu even brought up in this discussion. As we start to move a little bit further within the story, we also see some members in relation to, I think it's the Darkstalkers universe, making an appearance, which seems to make me think, is Capcom, or is there a bit of a crossover going to be occurring soon? Not only within the story, but maybe within the video games, with these characters coming into the next one. And last but not least, towards the end, which we get to see catch up once again with Chun-Li, as we almost seem to be getting a bit of a flashback, I think, with her, by the looks of things. But we also have the return of someone who could very well be Bison. I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it isn't, but the power that you see around him looks very similar to actual M. Bison, but this person almost seems to not know who they are. So moving to the rating of the internal art, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Next is the area of the story. First things first, do we get anything time-wise as to when some of these events are taking place throughout the day or night or whatever? No, we don't. Though it wouldn't hurt to include it in the story. Next is the locations that we get to see within the story. The desert in Asia. We had Tokyo, Japan. We had Italy. To which in Italy we were seeing Zangief taking on like a new female wrestler of sorts, and this female wrestler seems to be a bit of a love interest of his, or just how she comes across to him, and he certainly enjoys his time with her. It's nice to see some of these characters meeting other characters that they might actually want to have a family with. Of course, we have the USA, to which we end up seeing Ken and Guile. We also had Kenya, to which we had some stuff happening there, and some of the people who were there. We also had the return of Nashel, to which we end up having which has a connection to the last series, the Street Fighter 6 series. Moving into the cast of characters, we have Miss Yuzuki. There was someone at the start in the Asia one, but I don't know who they were. It would have been nice to see the story indicate who they were. We had Chun-Li, Zangief, Miss Marisa, I think it is. Guile, Ken, Ryu, Eliza, Mao. Some were people that we saw. Some were also mentioned by name. We also had Marcus. Then there was, I think it's Madame Xavier. And last but not least, Jose. For the overall story rating, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.